All right, let's talk about something every single investor struggles with, the hidden mental traps that can absolutely sabotage your financial decisions. We're going to dive deep into the psychology of why you make the choices you do, and trust me, understanding this is one of the most powerful tools you can have. So let's start with a scene you probably know all too well. You open your portfolio and it's just a sea of red. The market is tanking, your heart starts racing, and this little voice in your head is just screaming, "Sell! Sell it all before it gets any worse!" Sound familiar? Yeah, that powerful gut instinct is exactly what we need to unpack. See, that urge to sell, it isn't coming from some logical, calm analysis. Nope, it's a totally predictable and often very flawed reaction coming from deep inside your own mind. But here's the good news. Once you can see the pattern, you can start to get control over it.
To really get what's going on, we have to look at the work of Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. He figured out that our thinking is basically run by two competing systems inside our head. There's a fast, intuitive system and a slow, deliberate one.
Okay, so you've got system one, your fast brain. It's automatic, emotional, and it's always on. Then you have system two, your slow brain. This one is deliberate, logical, and analytical. But, and this is a huge but, system two is kind of lazy. It takes real work to fire it up, so it often just lets the panicky, fast-acting system one grab the steering wheel, especially when your money is on the line.
So what happens when that impulsive fast brain is in charge of your portfolio? Well, it falls into the same predictable traps over and over again. Let's break down the four most common ones that lose investors a ton of money.
Trap number one is that gut-wrenching, knee-jerk reaction to scary news headlines. It feels like you're just responding to danger, right? But what's really happening is your brain is using a powerful mental shortcut called the availability heuristic.
You know, our brains are shockingly bad at statistics. Seriously. Instead of calculating the real odds, we judge how risky something is based on how easily we can remember an example of it. And what's easier to remember than dramatic, splashy news about a market crash? It's on every channel, every website. That constant exposure tricks our brain into feeling like a crash is way more likely than it actually is.
And this just shows you the huge disconnect. The amount of news coverage we see for crashes is completely out of whack with the actual statistical probability. All that noise keeps our fast brain on high alert, with its finger just hovering over the panic button.
Now, trap number two is kind of the opposite of panic selling, but it can be just as destructive. It's driven by one of the most powerful forces in behavioral economics, something called loss aversion. This is fascinating, right? You'd think that gaining $100 would feel just as good as losing $100 feels bad, but it doesn't work that way at all. Research shows that the sting from a loss is about twice as powerful as the joy from a gain. That emotional imbalance just completely warps our financial decision-making. Come on, admit it. Have you ever said this to yourself? This is basically the theme song for loss aversion. Because the pain of actually realizing a loss is so intense, we'll do almost anything to put it off, including holding on to a failing investment way too long, just hoping and praying it'll get back to even. And that's how a small, manageable loss can turn into a really big one. This brings us right to a related trap that makes it almost impossible to judge an investment on its actual merits today. It's a cognitive bias called anchoring. Just think about the price you first paid for a stock. Let's say you bought it for $150 a share. That number, whether you realize it or not, has now become a powerful mental anchor. It gets stuck in your brain as the reference point for what that stock is worth. And here's the crucial part. Every single decision you make from that point on, whether to buy more, sell, or just hold, gets tied to that totally arbitrary starting number. So instead of asking the right question, which is this a good investment today, your brain is stuck on the wrong one. Am I up or down from my purchase price?
All right, on to our final trap. And this one's really interesting because while loss aversion makes us cling to our losers, a totally different mental mistake makes us sell our winners way too early.
So this is a basic concept in statistics. You know, an athlete who has a career best game is probably going to have a more normal game the next time. A stock that has a massive, incredible run-up is likely to see its growth slow down a bit. It's just a natural ebb and flow. But our fast brain, it doesn't see it that way. We see that little dip, and we mistake that normal statistical noise for a big, flashing warning sign. Our brain goes, oh no, the party's over, this is the start of the crash. So we panic, we sell to lock in our gains, and then we sit on the sidelines and watch as the stock continues to climb higher over the long term without us.
So after all that, how in the world do we escape these traps? Well, we can't just turn off our emotions. But what we can do is build a system to manage them. The key is to intentionally slow yourself down and give your logical, analytical system 2 a clear job to do. And there's a simple but really powerful way to do that.
Okay, here it is, a simple 3-step checklist. Anytime you start to feel that financial anxiety, that urge to do something rash, just stop. Run through these questions. This isn't just about thinking twice, it's a circuit breaker. It literally forces your slow brain to wake up and take over from your emotional, fast brain.
And you can see how each question is designed to fight a specific bias. Question 1 forces you to separate the scary headline from the actual data. Question 2 shatters that anchor of your purchase price and eases the pain of loss aversion. And question 3 makes you think in probabilities, not just the one worst-case scenario your fast brain is obsessed with.
And that right there is the most important thing to remember. Look, you're still going to feel fear when the market drops. You're going to feel greed when things are soaring. The goal is not to become some kind of investing robot. The goal is to have a deliberate, logical process that stands between those powerful emotions and the buy or sell button.
By consistently using a checklist like this, you can literally start to rewire those costly automatic reactions. You can train yourself to flip that switch from your fast brain to your slow brain, turning what was once your biggest liability into your greatest investing asset. So I'll leave you with this. What's one decision you can look at right now, but this time with your slow brain in charge?